Good morning. We are continuing further and now we are going to discuss about the fundamental rights. So firstly we need to ask ourselves that what are these fundamental rights? The word in itself is saying fundamental. That means these are the basic rights that have to be provided to everyone. Why do we need to provide it? So for the all round development of an individual, there are certain freedom, there are certain basic needs that every individual has. Like you need to treat them equally, you need to give them some freedom, you need to give them the right to have their respect their own religion in their own way. So such kind of things, it was felt by the framers of the constitution that it is very important to give the people such basic necessities, basic conditions. So that is the definition of fundamental rights, that these are basic conditions which are essential for the all round development of a human being. They have actually, as you know, that our constitution is a bag of borrowings. So we have borrowed this concept from USA, the concept of having fundamental rights, and it is contained in part 3 of the constitution. You know that the constitution has several parts. Out of these, in part 3 of the constitution, the fundamental rights are contained. Now then, the second part of the slide is asking that what is the importance, why do we need these fundamental rights? So firstly, we need them to protect the people from unjust discrimination. That means you cannot discriminate, you cannot do different treatment among the different people on the basis of their caste, color, creed, gender, etc. So in order to remove such differences, fundamental right is needed. And secondly, any individual, in order to lead a life of equality with respect, they need certain conditions. So that means the importance of fundamental right is that they give this recognition to the dignity and equality of all human beings. So these are the two reasons why fundamental rights are very important. Now, fundamental rights are basically contained from Article 14 till Article 32, and these are given in different sections. So firstly, from Articles 14 to 18, we have the right to equality. Following that is the right to freedom, which is given in Articles 19 to 22. The right against exploitation is given in Articles 23 and 24. Articles 25 to 28 is the right to freedom of religion. Article 29 and 30 are cultural and educational rights, and Article 32 is the right to constitutional remedies. So in this video, we are only discussing the right to equality, that means Articles 14 to 18. Now Article 14, it states equality before law and equality in protection by law. What does this mean? So that means that as Indian citizens, we are all equal before the law. If I commit any crime, or if any celebrity or any industrialist commits any crime, so the punishment should be equal, because being Indian citizens, we are all equal before the law. Then what is the meaning of equality in protection by law? That means as an Indian citizen, if my life is threatened, or if any dignitaries, any big person's life is threatened, we both need the same protection by law. So this is Article 14, equality before law and equality in protection by law, irrespective of caste, creed, culture, etc. This brings us to Article 15. So this Article 15 is actually a continuation of Article 14, and it prohibits, it stops any type of discrimination, any kind of different treatment which will be given in any educational institution, allotment of shop, in the public worship places. That means nobody can stop anyone from using anything which is meant for the use of public, be it a public park or a bus or a school or any such place. Because if anyone does any discrimination, it is punishable by law. And this has been done to ensure social and economic equality. So you will say Article 15 prohibits any discrimination in any public utility, such as education, admission to educational institution, allotment of shops, etc. Moving on to Article 16, we are talking about equality of opportunity. So where is this opportunity? So equal opportunity needs to be offered in the employment section, either be it employment with the central government or be it employment with the state government. That means Article 16 says to provide equality of opportunity to all citizens in matters relating to employment in an office under central or state government. However, there is an exception to this rule. You may be aware of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, the terms, and you know that certain seats are reserved for such people. So basically, you may ask that, ma'am, if we have equality of opportunity, why are certain rights given to these people? So these sections, they have been secluded, they have been left out from the main society for a very long time. For example, in history, you have studied about a certain section called untouchables, who were not allowed to enter the temples or draw water from the same well. So if this kind of different treatment is given to a section of people, you cannot expect them to have equal development. So these people, such people who were left behind from society, they were given certain freedom. So in the jobs or in the reservation, some seats, extra seats are reserved for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and the other backward classes. And this reservation, it comes in the exam for a 1 mark question, how many seats are reserved? Then you will say 27% posts in the government schools and jobs are reserved for the other backward classes, OBCs. 15% are reserved for the scheduled castes and 7.5% are reserved for the scheduled tribe. Please be sure that you remember these data. This brings us to Article 17, which prohibits the practice of untouchability. That means you cannot declare anyone to be untouchable or stop them from using any public transport or public well or a temple. Because if you do so, it is a punishable offense by law. So Article 17 is abolition of untouchability, and it abolishes, it removes untouchability and its practice in any form. And lastly, Article 18. Now, in the pre-independence period, there was a concept among the Britishers where they used to grant titles such as Rai Sahab, Khan Bahadur, Maharaja. These kind of titles were prevalent. They were existing in the country. But after independence, it was felt that it is necessary to stop them, because when we are saying someone Maharaja or Sahib, then naturally we are accepting that that person is superior to us. Then this goes against the principle of equality. So that is why the practice of giving titles was abolished. It was removed by Article 18 of the Indian Constitution. The question which comes in the exam is that why was Article 18 abolished? Then you will say it was abolished because it was against the spirit of social equality and it was a negation of equal status for all. That means it neglected. When once we say that everybody is equal and when we give titles, it is a negation of equal status for all. Now here the exception is that even though most titles are not allowed, some titles like Bharat Ratna, Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, in a particular field, if somebody is excelling, such kind of honor may be given by the government. Similarly, in the academic field, suppose a person has done PhD, they can get a title of doctor. So in some exceptions in the academic, sports or specific fields are there. Other than that, nobody can adopt a title of their own. So just a recapitulation, Article 14 is equality before law and equality in protection by law. Article 15 prohibits discrimination on the grounds of caste, color, religion, creed, etc. Article 16 talks about equality of opportunity in employment related to central or state government. Article 17 abolishes untouchability and its practice in any form, and it is punishable by law. And Article 18 abolishes the practice of titles like Rai Sahab, Khan Bahadur, Maharaja, etc. I hope the right to equality is clear to everyone. The last question we are dealing in this video, that if there is a clash, if there is some kind of dispute or fight between the fundamental rights and directive principle, what will prevail, what will win? So the answer to this is that in such a case, directive principle will continue to be followed. If you may ask me why, so the 42nd Amendment Act says that in case there is any fight between the directive principle and fundamental rights, directive principles need to be implemented. This is for the reason that, like I just now said, that fundamental rights are the rights which are given to an individual, to a particular person. But directive principles, they are the guidelines given to the government for the entire population. That means directive principle is dealing for the entire population, for everyone, but fundamental rights are individual centric. So in case of any fight, the rights of everybody in the society needs to prevail rather than the rights of an individual. So that is why directive principle will prevail. So basically, I hope today's lesson is clear to all of you. We have done some very important questions. If you have any doubts, please clarify.